its oversized beak-like nose and his short, black, bowl-shaped hair, and then he dropped out of sight. "I could go instead of you," Munahim suggested, "if you prefer." "You're so very good at being our backup," Indrajit said. "You tell me that a lot." "It's your bow," Indrajit said. "You can intervene to protect us in a fight from far away. And of course, with that big sword, you can also jump into a brawl. I just have my blade Vacho, and Fix has all his knives and his hatchet, and sometimes a spear or a falchion. But even if he were to throw them, he couldn't throw very far." "He could throw a spear." "Not as far as you can shoot. And also, you're a natural tracker." "I have a good sense of smell," Munahim admitted. "So even if we end up in a chase, or going down under the city or something, you can follow us." "I can't smell my way down a rope," Munahim said, "or through a crowded ballroom. For that matter, I can't shoot my bow down through 3 stories of building." Indrajit patted Munahim on the shoulder. Like Indrajit himself, Munahim was tall, with long muscles. They were lean and rangy, where Fix was blocky and powerful. "You'll do your best." "I just want to help the pack." Munahim's voice had a faint whine in it. "Company," Indrajit suggested. "Pack doesn't sound quite right." Fix's whistle warbled up to the rooftop over a twittering of flutes. "You're the bosses," Munahim said, surrendering. "And you're a very fine jobber, and we're lucky to have you in the company. Remember the sign that we need backup?" "Supposedly it's a whistle," Munahim said, "but my experience suggests it's more likely to be screaming, yelling, and the clashing of swords." "Good boy," Indrajit said. He gripped the rope with both hands, wrapped it around his hips, and lowered himself down the side of the building. Like many of the fortified homes of the wealthy in the Crown and Lee, Osiah's place had no windows on the first or the second floor. As 3rd and 4th stories, it had windows and even balconies, but their height off the ground deterred casual breaking and entering. 2nd-story men had to become 3rd-story men, which required climbing equipment, extra tall ladders, or descent from the rooftop. He landed on the balcony beside a bead-filled doorway. The light bleeding through the beads was dim. Fix stood across the doorway from him, already wearing his toga over his kilt and tunic. Since the short Kish hadn't removed the falchion, axe, or knives from his belt, or the empty bag hanging from his shoulder, he looked bulky around the waist, but the toga-wearing class of Kish tended toward plumpness anyway. Fix handed Indrajit the 2nd toga, and Indrajit wrapped it around himself, over his own tunic and kilt, taking care that his leaf-bladed sword Vacha was thoroughly covered, but accessible. The togas weren't really disguises. For one thing, even in a city that swarmed with all 1,000 races of man, Indrajit was distinctive. He was blotchy, with a long, bony nose, a subtle crest on his head, and eyes quite far apart. Also, the merchants of the paper sook, the marketing Kish where companies themselves were bought and sold, along with currencies, commodities, risk, and other even stranger and more abstract investments, knew Indrajit and Fix. They were the protagonists, a small jobber company that worked for Orm Thrush, the Lord Chamberlain. The Lord Chamberlain had the contract for overseeing the paper sook, and Indrajit and Fix spent a significant amount of their time investigating crimes among those traders. To the men and women dancing and drinking below, their faces were known, and not necessarily welcome. But a toga might suggest that Indrajit and Fix had been invited, to other guests and especially to staff. And a merchant who had drunk enough might not notice their faces at all, and just see 2 more in a sea of togas. If anyone looked, their worn sandals would give them away. "She won't be down on the lower floors," Fix said, his voice low. "She'll be kept out of sight." "She'll be under lock and key," Indrajit whispered. They had both said these things many times before. They were reminding each other. Tonight, they weren't investigating a crime of risk merchantry fraud or insider trading, much to Indrajit's relief. They were rescuing a princess. Well, not really a princess, but a dancer named Sanara Chi, who was favored by the Lord Stargazer Bolo Bitsodani. The Lord Stargazer was, like the Lord Chamberlain, one of the 7 lords of Kish, heads of the city's great families, fortunate acceders into the auction house and its